And we are live. I love that video. I love it. Thank you, Joel Felsenstein. Thank you, Rockstar X. Appreciate you. We are live with our Time to Change podcast. I have two incredible people for you today. Lyndsay Dowd is the Chief Heartbeat Officer and doing some incredible work. You'll have to catch her podcast. And if you might see right here behind me, there's a book she has out. Can you see that, people? Love it. I have been through it. I have a whole bunch of notes scribbled in. Love the book. Love what she's done. Michelle Arentz in the house. Lazarus Learning CEO. She is a killer. And today we're going to talk about cultures and leaders that prioritize people to build those cultures. What are the best leaders doing? And best is a, kind of a quantitative thing, but what are the top leaders doing or the best leaders doing to really take the effort to create cultures where they prioritize people?
Well, the first thing that I love to talk about is first, if you are listening to this call, we are retiring the phrase soft skills. It diminishes what they are. We are calling them power skills.
Power skills.
Power skills.
Yes. That's right.
You all know this because I talk about it all the time, but the modern leaders have power skills in spades, and power skills are human skills. So authenticity, vulnerability, active listening, delegation. Don't mistake delegation with just getting shit off your plate and not doing anything. Like there's actually some skill to doing it right and empowering people. Right. It's recognition. It's lifting others up. It's sharing the spotlight. These are all very human things, but the best leaders give people the space to do the jobs they were hired for. They give them autonomy and they let them do their jobs. And I will tell you, micromanagement has never inspired anyone. So knock that off.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that Lyndsay said and then some, and give them the tools, put the tools in their toolbox and show them how to use them effectively, right? Let's define what these things are. What matters to us, we measure what matters. Let's make sure that it's on the table. Like to Lyndsay's point, this soft skill stuff, like it's over there, like it's this extra thing. No, it's at the core of how you operate. The extra is whether or not you can type 100 words a minute, right? Or drive a forklift or whatever your thing is. It's like, let's get to the core of this and let's help empower people to know what to use, when to use it, how to use it, and then give them the opportunities to go ahead and practice that. And that, yes, that does take work, right? But that's the whole point. Put the work in and get the benefits that come from that. And if you, don't expect one person to be holding the bag for you. And also, please don't ever, I don't care what your title is or where you see yourself on a chart. You're never above the law on that respect either, right? Don't say somebody else over there has to figure it out. It starts with you as the leader, right? You need to learn what those tools are and apply them for yourself and your business. Get your tool belt on and fill it full of tools and be ready to grab them at a moment's notice because you model the way.
Well, and to that point, thus the name of the book, Top Down Culture, because it starts at the top. And if you jump on tables and tear your hair out and scream at people, don't expect your culture to look any different. Because that's exactly what they think you want.
Yep. It's called model the way. People are going to follow whether you're going to take them off a cliff or you're going to take them to the highest heights of success. Right? Well, actually, if you're going off a cliff, a lot of people are going to jump.
They're just going to watch it go. Say, I work for that toxic leader.
They're either going to be like, I'm going to ditch you because I can see the cliff. Yeah. And, and by the way, those are your more talented people. So that's a giant loss. Why would you do that?
And within the realm of what we're teaching leaders and about that important thing, and you both mentioned it, but that ability to listen, to actively listen and effectively communicate to your teams. Right. Lyndsay, I know that this is an important issue when you're talking about this and, what are your thoughts?
I mean, one of the most important things you have to do as a leader is to meet your people where they are. And how you do that is by checking in and asking them in your one-on-ones that are separate from your forecast calls or your regular business calls. You are getting to know who they are. And you have to ask them the question, how can I be the best leader for you? And when you ask that question, you're going to get different answers from everyone you ask. Some people are going to say, stay the hell out of my way. I just need you as an escalation point. Others might say, I need a coach. Will you help me role play? And others might say, I don't understand what the hell I'm doing. I don't get my job. Can you help me understand that? But none of this happens until you build trust. And when you start to ask those questions and you really listen, you really meet them where they are and take notes and listen to our good friend Scott McGregor, who says, when you meet somebody, put all their partners' names, their kids' names, their dogs' names in your phone. So when they call or when you're about to talk to them, look at it and don't ask them about their partner's name is Jimmy when it's Frank. Like, be smart. It's just so bad when you look like you haven't paid attention. So just listen, take notes, show interest, and that's going to help you build trust. And that's going to give you psychological safety. And that's going to give you autonomy. And that's going to give you results. It all goes together.
Oh my goodness.
Love that. Truth is being spoken here. Loud and clear.
Well, go on, Michelle. Talk about it.
Oh, just what can I say except be an echo chamber? I mean, yeah. You know, and I think with that, the flip side of that is your own vulnerability and openness as a leader, right? So it's the two sides of the same coin, right? Put the care and attention and concern into your people. You know, like sit down and shut up for a minute to Lyndsay's point. I'm not going to be as sweet and nice as she is, but I'm just going to say, like, sit down and shut up for a minute and listen to people. And make the time to get to know who they are and what they're about. Ask them questions. The flip side of that in building that trust, which is so critical, as Lyndsay said, is what about sharing a little bit about you? Not the TMI stuff. Don't get in all that weirdness. And again, you're not their camp counselor and they're not yours. But that openness and vulnerability as a leader is super huge, because if you're going to ask me to trust you enough that I'm going to give you some things about myself and I'm going to open up, I'm going to expect the same from you, right? I'm going to be looking for, like, tell me about yourself. And I want to get to know you. Trust is a two-way street. And so I think great leaders really understand that it's not weak, it's strength to sit there and say, I don't know the answer to that. Let's find out together. It's strength to say, I've made mistakes. Here's an example of what I did. And, you know, it's strength, not weakness, to say, I apologize. I did something to you that I said or did something to you that I ought not to have.
Amen.
Own that.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
And you're not infallible. You know, nobody is. So bring your humanity to the table, because if you're going to ask other people to be human with you, you've got to be human with them.
Well, and vulnerability is a spectrum. Like,
Right.
I think when we tell leaders you need to be vulnerable, if they're like a CFO and they were a lousy accountant, they're never going to want to tell anyone that undermines their credibility.
Sure.
But if you say, you know, hey, you guys, I walked out of the house this morning, stepped on a patch of ice, fell on my butt. I have the biggest bruise. Has that happened to you? I was so embarrassed or whatever. Like, you're still being vulnerable. You're not saying you're a hack. You're just being human. So there is a spectrum of vulnerability. And I think it's a really scary thing for leaders who have never done that. And when you can just relate to people on their level, which is human, you win.
Yeah, agreed. And again, it's not spilling your guts. It's not the TMI show, or this is not confessional, but it is being in that space of saying that I'm human too.
Yep.
We're all in this together. How do we help lift each other up?
Well, these are like, this is all gold. I've got so many little things to clip out of this. It's just like, I could do this for days, and we could talk about this for days.
Good.
But this is a short podcast, so we're gonna hone in. But I want to say the other thing that I was just talking about this with a group last night, and this continues to be something that we see and hear, and it's about psychological safety and how leaders can create that? Because this goes a little line with what you've been talking about, but how do they create that psychological safety where yes, they're being vulnerable. Yes, they're communicating. Yes, they are learning and caring and putting their hand up when they've made mistakes, but they create that psychological safety for others. So where others can grow. And as you said earlier, Lyndsay, bloom where they are in their own time. Lyndsay, hit us off.
Yeah, I mean, psychological safety isn't created by doing one thing. It's created by doing a lot of things, and it's a lot of small things. So we already talked about building trust, but what you're also doing as a leader is you're fostering opportunities for people to connect. You're lifting each other up so people appear human to each other. I used to manage teams where it was really the island of misfit toys. Nobody cared about each other. No one knew what each other sold. They were just like, listen, I'm here to do my job. I don't sell that crap. I don't want to know what that is. And as a leader, I was like, no, I need them to care. So I need them to learn who each other are, and basically see each other as more than just, oh, there's a body on this Zoom with me, or there's a person I have to talk about. I don't know what they do. And so for me, what I did was a Kahoot. And if you've ever done a Kahoot, you know, this is this multimedia quiz. I had everybody send me a cute little fact about them that no one knew. And then we did the quiz. And one example was, this person had visited every major ballpark in North America but one. And so it was 3 guys and 1 woman as the answers, and everyone guessed the guys, and the answer was the woman. And
Nice.
So every time we got on the call with Marsha, somebody would say something about that. And Marsha was no longer just a techie. She was someone who did something cool. And imagine that was done 40 times. So everybody had something cool to talk about with each other, and you see each other differently. So that was just a way of setting up some psychological safety. There's 100 other things you could do, but that's an easy example for people to start communicating, collaborating, trusting each other, and say, now I get what you do. Cool. Well, can we commiserate? We have the same client. What can we do together? And that's where the magic really happens. But it won't happen if it's a threatening environment where there is no trust and where, you're going to get your hand slapped for making a mistake or for failing.
Just riffing a little off of what Lyndsay said in that space. Also think of this in terms of alignment. There's a lack of safety, and where does everybody's mental energy go when we lack alignment? And from a cultural perspective, what I always look at is there's kind of 4 hallmark buckets that we can chunk any company culture into. What are our aspirations? Think of your vision, your mission, your values. Think about the actions. Here's what we say we do, but what do we actually do with what we said we did? What are your artifacts? Like if we say we value our people, but everything's crumbling in the break room, your artifacts aren't reflecting anything else. And then of course, rounded out with assumptions. There's a lot of these undercurrents of, we assume everybody understands how things work around here, even if they don't. Now, if any of this is kind of out of whack or out of if they're misaligned, if things that are being said and done that aren't matching, you're creating an environment that isn't safe and starts sucking the bandwidth of my mental energy, because I'm wondering, why is there a disconnect? I don't trust this disconnect. And so that's another angle we could look at in that space as well, is do we have good alignment between who we say we are and how we operate and what we actually do with that? And is everybody clear and on board? Do we have nice guardrails to make it easier for everybody to get it right than get it wrong in those spaces?
Awesome.
That's what I'd say.
So awesome. So awesome. And in such a short time, just like bring the knowledge. All right, we're out. We're just going to slam dunk. You have been listening to Lyndsay Dowd, Michelle Arentz. My name is Chason Forehand, and we have been on Time to Change.